Deck the halls with boughs of Ashley. So we got Mrs. Davis here. 'Tis the season to be spicy, throwing a dash of Angry Joe. When you order food delivered, Joe Chancherick might show up. Top it off with Pineapple Cal, and you got your Psych recap show. Welcome to Get Psych, the two-part special event celebrating the return of USA hit comedy series Psych. I am your MC once again, Pineapple Cal, and we have assembled our all-star panel to discuss the movie this time. So I have to start with our good friends, the co-creators of this channel that you're watching this lovely show on, our great friends from Geek to My Nerd, Mr. Joe and Ashley Davis.
Hello.
Hello.
How's it going, everybody?
And I did get it right this time.
Did.
So,
but I've heard it both ways.
Yeah, I know. See, I knew I was right. And on the other side, we have the man who does all the graphics for our show. Today, though, we had some screen caps, a lot of screen caps from Geek to My Nerd. But the ones who come up on the promos and all that, you can thank to this guy. So, Mr. I'll be there in 30 minutes or less, but your food probably won't be, Mr. Joe Chancherick.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm ready for this.
I know we've all been so excited waiting for this movie. We've been like such huge fans of the series. And if you guys watched the previous episode, we really talked about how our top moments, like either top 5 moments of the show, top 5 episodes, top 5 Gus nicknames, cameos, pop culture references. We all had a lot of fun on the first episode, and now we're going to the second episode. I'm going to throw it over to Ashley. What did you think about the movie overall and all that kind of stuff before we start spoiling?
Overall, I thought it was really fun. I was a little nervous because anytime you come back after so long, it's like, what is it going to be like? But I genuinely enjoyed myself throughout. I was laughing. I liked it when I recognized little references they made here and there. And it was just, I thought it was an interesting story too, how they, they didn't try to like retcon too many things from like this finale, like, oh, well, we're back now. And like, forget about the whole San Francisco thing. They're like, no, we're going to stick to what we've set up. And I thought that was good.
So Joe Davis, did you feel like the movie did the show justice when you're watching it?
Yeah, I do. I felt it did a little too much justice. But it definitely did the show itself justice. It was the same kind of formula we loved from the show. And it had the same goofy vibe and atmosphere, almost painful at times, because Sean is still being Sean even this much time later.
And Joe Chancherick, you feel it's worth the wait? I know we've been talking about this for a while. So did it live up to all your expectations?
Yeah, it did. I liked it. It was a lot of fun. I think I was grinning the whole time because it was like more psych. But I was kind of hoping for a little more of like a movie vibe because it really just felt like another episode. And I think if I were to try to tell someone like, oh, you got to watch Psych, I wouldn't direct them to the movie.
At least not
actually, it felt a lot. The Veronica Mars movie almost, where it's just a lot of lip service, which isn't a bad thing, but I don't think it's as inviting if you're not a fan. So I would definitely direct to other episodes, but overall, I can't wait to get it on Blu-ray. I hope they release a Blu-ray, but those are my initial reactions of like after that like first like 40 minutes or so, and then you really like the high go down and you're like, all right, we're here. So
I felt the same way. Like I felt like it did a lot of fan service, so it kind of pleased us, but we wanted something more from it. And like you're right, I don't think this could be like shown to fans as a standalone to be like, oh, this represents our series.
Nope.
They should more likely go through the show, probably season 1 and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I guess we can start off our recap. We can start with Ashley. I know Ashley has a lot of notes and pictures that she wants to share and stuff. So we'll go to Geek to My Nerd and start it off.
All right.
1 second, we're getting the screen share going. Nope. Where is it?
Trying to figure things out.
Because we're the worst.
This is when you could suck it.
Just do entire screen.
Okay.
Huh?
Wait for it.
All right. Is it working on y'all's end?
Yep.
So professional. All right. So it kind of starts off with an establishing shot to say that, hey, we're still in San Francisco where we left off in the finale, and they haven't changed too many things. And we immediately get to this scene where we discover Sean is on a boat, and he runs into this lovely gentleman, El Proveedor. And they did these kind of weird little screen shots of like the characters that they've never done in the show before. So it's kind of a new element.
It's very Borderlands, or to use an even worse representation, Suicide Squad.
Didn't they do this? I think they actually did this one time on the that episode where Ewan was there, and they they did it for Ewan, and that Russian spy. That episode, I think they might have done it like that. That's the only other time they've ever done something like this.
But one episode, man.
Yeah, this is definitely not something that's representative of the series. And so, yeah, he's a high-end fence, a wanted criminal, and then he kept calling him Glenn, so not Glenn. So there's like two serious things and like a little joke thing. And so Sean has to bluff his way out of this situation. And if we go to the next one, Sorry, these are a little bit out of order. So yeah, Sean is dressed in this ridiculous getup where there's actually two beards when he like lifted, or they pulled one down, there was half a beard under him, which I think we said is a reference to another episode. So yeah, overachiever, psychic detective, and then Jack Tagger, because he gets to name everything, I think is what the whole concept was. And then if you go back one, then later on, Sean is escaping from the criminals, and then he ends up in this office complex where he like rolls under Gus's desk. So Gus is now working as a pharmaceutical rep again, but also helping Sean part-time. And then, of course, they got to throw in that he's a Comic-Con enthusiast because
he is.
Well, both Sean and Gus are very nerdy. And then, of course, I didn't take like super detailed notes, but I just took a lot of different pictures of characters. So if you want to like fill in until we get to Juliet, that's fine. Or if you want me to
the scene right before this, Juliet is on like, I guess the end of her shift with her partner, and they see someone about to rob another person. They take a bag and a cell phone. Juliet chases the culprit down, and it's a young girl, and Juliet knows the girl, but we don't find out who the girl is until the scene that you're showing right now. But the girl goes, "Let me go," and Juliet lets her go, and they get the materials back.
Yeah, like the partner's like weirded out, like, okay, like why would they leave the stuff?
Yeah, the intro. I think it was going for. I was weird for the pre-production. We were talking about this, but I think it was going for this like almost how like the Dark Knight starts, this like establishing where people have been, and that's kind of the feel I was getting. You know, like beat by beat of each person, and I thought this scene with when she was talking to the girl, I know they're trying to do a little mystery, was a little off. I don't know. That was one of the ones that didn't work for me immediately. The Gus and Sean stuff, that play with them going right into the office. I don't know. That felt like typical like Sean for me. I kind of liked how we were perceived to think as like in the midst of a case, and he's still kind of slumming it.
Yep. Totally.
All right, so Juliet obviously recognized the young lady from the robbery, and so she's come to talk to the chief, and she has very important things to say. And then the chief makes a joke about, or she's not really cracking a joke, but like, oh, my husband's here, like, let me go do these things. And then Juliet's like, I've never met your husband, like, oh, like, you should come in and say hi. And then we never see him.
Still.
And then we get to figure out that the young lady that Juliet let go is Chief Vic's daughter, Iris, who has gotten into some trouble with some mean girls at school and is trying to impress them by doing these petty crimes. And Juliet's telling her, like, you can't do this. And next time, like, this situation happens, you call me and I will take care of it.
Totally.
Yeah.
And then Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Ashley.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna lament on what I was talking about before. So,
all right. So we see that Sean has established his business in Chinatown of San Francisco, and he's trying to go for this whole Gremlins aesthetic with the little curio shop. And he even at one point has like a little caged looking creature. It's not real, but
you can see it in the bottom corner.
Yeah, and it looks nothing like a little mogwai. And we see that he has named his new business Psych Francisco. All one word, all lowercase, PH, where
the F would go.
The F would go. And apparently this has not helped earn them any clients, despite, Sean's ability to solve crimes with his psychic abilities.
I'm pretty sure walking into an Eastern themed business with a white dude and a black dude behind the counter may also be a little off-putting.
That doesn't sell you? That that was one of my favorite moments because it felt like original Psych.
Mm-hmm.
Like it felt like a gag that would be done. And I think what we were talking about in our intros of they didn't take as many chances like that throughout the movie. Like creating new things like Psych Francisco.
Right. That creating new things that still feel like Psych.
Yeah. So that moment of that sign, I was like, that's hysterical.
Yeah.
Another thing is I think it's probably they're not getting business because it's a color scheme. You're supposed to see that green Psych logo.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only other time that logo wasn't green was in the pilot episode when it was blue, when he first made it. And then other than that, it's always been green. So maybe that's what once they switch to green, they might get business.
And it's like hidden in the back alley somewhere.
In a basement.
Yeah, it's not in the most visible part of town. And Gus is very annoyed that Sean keeps spending all of this money decorating the place when they're not really bringing in any money. And I think Gus is the one that's kind of footing the bill for everything because he actually has a job.
Probably.
And
you got to spend money to buy things.
Yeah.
I don't think that's how that works, Sean.
We forgot to mention also that being like the Gremlin. We mentioned the Gremlin scene, but it's a great nod for it being a holiday special.
True.
Which that's why I think they did it because it really. I mean, if we're going to full disclosure, it really isn't a holiday Christmas special.
No, but it's close to Christmas when it came out, and this I think even deeper. It makes the nod to the fact that it's a Christmas special when it's not really about Christmas or anything like that.
No.
Much like Gremlins it takes place during Christmas, but it's not about Christmas.
So that's but the shop being the shop from the Gremlins, I would love, because I know their attention to detail could be great in this show. I would love to do a side-by-side of like what it looks like to what they've kind of established in it. I'm sure it's pretty fun.
All right, and so eventually we learn that some shady things are going on with, at first it seems like maybe like Juliet's partner is in some trouble. He gets confronted by a criminal that looks a lot like David Bowie, and he tries to not disarm him, but like he lets him know like, hey, I'm armed, and then they get attacked by some other people. And he ends up losing an important hard drive that connects him to his dongle, which was a huge joke in the hospital where he is, trying to recover. And Sean cannot stop laughing at this idea of this dongle. That's
the part where I cringed at the most. Like the rest of the film is fine with the stuff, but when Sean's being Sean in this room, who's in this with this guy who's clinging to life, he keeps making jokes about the dongle when it's already been explained to him what it is.
Yeah. And so this is the way for any, if somebody gets a hold of this, they have basically all the access to all the files of the entire San Francisco police force. And so this is a big deal. And then Juliet gets really mad at Sean because, this was her partner and Sean is not taking things seriously. So she's like, you need to go. And eventually Sean runs into their old officer, which I have a picture of. It's not in order, so
Yeah.
I have a picture of him later. If you want to go to the regular files real quick, I can pull up the picture because I know where it is.
Okay. I'll have to figure out.
Everyone, close your eyes right now. Don't be spoiled. Or we'll talk so that way.
When are we gonna hit the spoiler button?
I think if you're watching the show, please know it's a spoiler because we're gonna go over the movie detail by detail.
Because I got some thoughts.
About where we are at this point in the movie.
About kind of this point of the movie with like the crimes of Juliet. No, we're waiting on that.
Yeah,
We'll get there in a second. So yeah, when I was making this earlier, I wasn't sure what like order we were going into. So they run before they go and investigate all of this information. They run into Nick, who is the police academy trainer, and he was he had trained this officer, and so he's really upset. But like he doesn't want to go in the hospital because he's afraid of hospitals, and he keeps talking about him like he died, but he hasn't died yet.
Yeah.
Or he's not dead, and it's like, no, like why do you keep talking about that? And so they kind of take it upon themselves, as per a usual episode of Psych, because I definitely agree with the point that this feels like a typical Psych episode, to go and investigate this for themselves. So this is kind of the catalyst, and they probably would have investigated in themselves even if they were not spurred by someone, but it was kind of cool to see the cameo. I liked that character.
Yep.
And so eventually they're reading the files and they come across this, I guess it's like a manifesto, the crimes of Juliet O'Hara, which they decide would sound like a really cool Lifetime movie, which I guess is probably a joke at the fact that Sean's dad, played by Corbin Burnson, directs a lot of Lifetime movies. So,
and probably Maggie Lawson's probably been in one because the way Sean goes, oh, Juliet would never do a Lifetime movie, but I'm guessing Maggie Lawson has done some. The actress who plays Juliet.
I want to say a Christmas one.
Yeah,
makes sense.
They've all done
a lot
Christmas
of.
I mean, they found this all in a psychiatric hospital, which is a huge always theme in psych, because they're always going to psych hospitals for some reason.
Yep.
And so eventually, the people that are the perpetrators of this crime come back, and so Sean and Gus have to make a quick exit, but not before Sean goes back to retrieve this guard dog that was preventing them from getting into the room in the first place. So he has to go retrieve this dog, and then Gus is getting mad at him because the dog tried to kill them. And then they're doing this 24-point turn to get out of this driveway
while they're being searched or hunted down.
I think it literally took them 2 minutes because this car is a student driver car, and so they each have a wheel.
Yep.
And they got this from the finale, the series finale.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they're fighting over the car, and literally I felt 2 minutes. It was way too long. They would have gotten found out, but because it's a movie, they escaped. And they go to tell Chief Vic what happened. This is one of the criminals, the Black Gentleman Ninja, as they have dubbed him.
Yeah.
Well, at this point, he's the dandy.
He's the dandy.
Dandy, yes.
What did you guys think of the dog bit?
I liked it. I thought it was funny.
I thought it was funny that Sean gave the dog all of the $40 worth of jerky, because that's something that Sean would totally do.
And buying $40 a $40 pack of jerky like that is totally something Gus would do.
And I thought it was funny. I thought it was funny that they said the dog was on a pogo stick because it kept jumping up why would they leave a dog with a pogo stick? That was funny.
That was a good bit. And I love it, especially if you follow James Roday on Twitter, he's a big proponent of rescuing dogs and treatment of animals and stuff like that. So I'm sure that was also a nod.
That's one thing. Him and Maggie Lawson had in common when they're together. They just kept rescuing animals together.
Yeah, and they mentioned that this dog is a rescue, and he was made to be evil. He wasn't born that way, so that's why Sean wants to rescue him. It was pretty funny.
It also has some really serious, at one point, Full Metal Alchemist vibes, because he rescues the dog and then they take it to Chief Vic to leave it with Chief Vic, and then she immediately just stop, and he's like, okay.
Yeah, Sean keeps trying to do like the German commands to make the dog, or like these like special commands that all dogs should know, and she does it immediately. He's like, well, why wouldn't it listen to me? It's like, well, obviously you don't have any authority.
Right.
It was a sick burn on Sean's credibility. And then like so she
Milan, right? The dog whisperer. That's what he was trying to do. Thing, yeah.
Yeah.
He'd seen what 2.5 episodes or 3.5.
It was a classic Sean.
Yep.
Yes.
He's seen a handful of like 40 minutes combined of Dog Whisperer and thinks he's an expert.
Yeah.
Yes, and then just quick shout out to the chat. Chase Geyer is saying that he was watching a movie with his grandmother that was either on Lifetime or Hallmark, and Maggie Lawson was in it.
Yep.
So
it happened to be called, Google this, Killer Hair Cover.
There's a few others that sound like Hallmark / Lifetime movies that I looked when I looked up her IMDb.
Heart of a Stranger.
I've
been waiting for you. She must have been like 15 there because it says 98. But anyway.
Well, recently there's Christmas Encore and My Favorite Wedding.
Ooh, gotta watch those guys. Support Lifetime movie or Hallmark movie.
All right, so eventually they take Chief Vic back to where the crime scene is, and of course it's totally gone. And so there's nothing more they can do. So they go to this event at the planetarium, which is all Gus cares about, is getting to the planetarium. And there he spots this young woman who has this 9-planet solar system shirt on. And so he's immediately drawn to her, and she's drawn to him. And she's kind of taking the initial steps in the relationship, which really throw Gus back because he wants to be the cheetah, as he says, and she's the gazelle, but she's just very forceful. And they get into a little argument about which planet should be the 9th planet of the solar system because
is it Eris or Pluto?
Yes, and Gus is at Pluto. And she's like, why would they remake Pluto a planet? Eris is bigger. And then they start getting into this whole argument. And so, this is not the girl for him. But, like, she, like, is pursuing him because she has his contact information. And she kind of shows up throughout the movie at really interesting times.
Interesting doesn't even begin.
I actually really liked her character.
I did too, but it's just funny.
She also is on Ballers with Dulé Hill.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I'm sure that's the connection they had there. But I thought she was a good addition. I'd hope if they get a sequel that she would return and we don't get to see another like Gus relationship.
Yeah.
But,
I liked him with was it Rachel? Is her name? We'll play with Parminder Nagra, like with the boy, with the son. I liked him with her.
He had some good relationships. They do his character dirty sometimes.
It's just funny how when he meets girls, he's like, "Hello." Like I love when he does that with the people. Like
just a little nose thumbing, and he's a fun one. So eventually Juliet goes back to the hospital to check on her partner, and
I just remember she said, I bet you must have looked like Bill, or was it Bud from the Cosby Show as a kid.
Yes. And so she comes upon a new crime scene where there's like a lot of hospital staff that have been like, knocked out, and they're like rushing to do like triage on her partner. And her partner does not make it, and it's discovered that he's been asphyxiated, and I think he had the dongle like shoved into his throat, which I think even Sean didn't make a joke about it then,
or it was in his stomach,
or something weird. And we see this young lady exiting the scene, and this is the other partner of the Thin White Duke character. They call her Heather Rockrear. And she is a force to be reckoned with. Like, this is not a lady that you want to mess with. She's a very brutal fighter. So,
played by current SmackDown Women's Champion Charlotte Flair.
That's who that was.
I looked it up and saw it was a wrestler.
I didn't know who she was because I don't follow wrestling. So eventually, Juliet's partner's body gets taken to the morgue, where we run into another cameo that's kind of like a little more than a cameo. Woody's character. He was the coroner back in Santa Barbara, and he's come here. And
he has this massive story of the heights and lows of his career, and it's pretty great.
Yeah, because for a while he worked in the Capitol as the head coroner, and he accidentally like sewed up a sandwich that he was eating in a cadaver, and he only got fired not because he put the sandwich in there, but because he opened the cadaver back up to retrieve the sandwich. At that point, why would you want to eat anything that has been in a cadaver? That's disgusting. But Woody is like the most pathetic character.
I love it.
It's great.
Got the Woodman.
What's up?
So I'm glad we got the Woodman.
Yeah, I love his flavor text that his wife cheated on him 12 times with 10 men, because that's just
wow.
That's just poor Woody. He's so sweet. He tries really hard, but he's just not very successful.
There's a really great joke towards the end, and someone calls him, I think, like Stephen Tobolewsky looking.
Yes.
Or reference. And it's so great because that actor, him and Stephen Tobolewsky, are basically very similar actors, where they just show up and do an awesome job. And but they're career character actors, and it was a really good nod. It was again, I'm gonna keep going back. It was like a classic Psych nod.
And so yeah, Woody's talking about like how his fall from grace. And they get some more information on like what happened. This is another time where Celine, who is Gus's love interest, she just shows up because Gus, like, apparently he's real big on Instagram, and he posted where they were. So she just, found him, and she brought him like a fluffernutter sandwich. It was really insane. And like she had like checked out all of his social media and knew everything about him, and it was very stalkerish.
She also had the dating resume for on her life and her partners and all that.
Yep.
So yeah, she handed the resume to him.
The part that bothered me the most is the fact that she knew about the fluffernutter sandwich because she called Gus's mom.
And Gus's mom was totally fine, like talking to her. But knowing Gus's mom, I could see it.
Yeah,
you could see it. I don't know. They were so protective of Gus.
But they also want Gus to get married, and if they think a girl's interested in him, they might not be.
I say, the more we talk about, the more I actually wish we had more of her character.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so eventually Sean is trying to like put together like all of the information about like all of Juliet's cases that are referenced in the manifesto. And I thought this was kind of like a weird nod to like Sherlock Holmes, especially like the new one, because like they'll often have these like little text sequences, for lack of a better word, which like I don't remember Sean ever like putting like together information quite like this on this scale, because usually we see like close-ups of him like noticing things. So like to me, like I wished we had more of that in the movie versus like this one time where he's piecing things together.
Yep.
I think they were going with like the last season of Psych. They were changing up the way they did the noticing clues. So maybe they were trying to go that way with it.
I think they should try to make more theatrical in this, as opposed to like the normal like comedy thing that he makes this weird face. They always joke about how he made a weird face into the thing. Yeah, I think they try to make it more theatrical here because everyone in this room knows that he's a fraud.
Yeah, exactly. That's
so
a good point.
He's just looking at everything.
He doesn't have to hide or put up a pretense.
And one thing before the scene, actually, we had the scene where we're back in the Psych Francisco shop. And Ted finds Sean and Gus because of the Hagrid beard, the costume beard. He knows that Bert and Gus are. So they track him down to this shop, and Sean reveals I'm a psychic, and he's like, "All right, tell my future." And he brings out the tarot cards, and he tells him about like 3 things that are going to happen to him, which we'll get back to later in the episode.
Yeah.
Is it too early to bring up what I thought that the Crimes of Juliet was going to be?
what you thought? Oh yeah, go ahead. I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, so we eventually find out what they are, say, but I thought they were going to be Sean, like someone calling out Sean for being a fraud,
Hmm.
and that all of the crimes from the series could get turned over. Because I remember that being in fan threads and things like that, like during the finale, and like when Juliet found out, being like legally like all of the cases Sean has solved would be delegitimate because of the methods he uses to solve them,
That's fair.
and get thrown out of court and all be reversed. And I thought it was going to go with that because of, like, being psych, I'd be like, that's a really interesting turn.
Well, if the state of California is letting, being a psychic legit be a way that you can like solve crimes, then I would imagine finding out that psychic's not exactly psychic is not going to be that big of a change.
Yeah, true. No, I think I just meant like someone knowing, like him breaking in to find stuff out, and then I don't know. It's just where my mind jumped to with it, and I thought they were going to go there.
If it was going to be such a huge deal, they should require licensing for detectives.
I'm sure. I mean, Sean's taken like the detective exam. I think you just have to take a test to even be a private detective. So,
yeah,
I don't know why he wouldn't just do that. But then the whole conceit of the show falls apart. All right, and so it is revealed that the perpetrator of these crimes is a confidential informant that Juliet put away, and so he's very angry that despite all of the help that he's provided, that Juliet would still send him to jail. And so his name is Billy Goldrick, but they just call him the Thin White Duke because he looks like David Bowie.
Trying to pull a David Bowie look.
So yeah, informant, psychopath, bottle blonde. So I thought that was pretty funny. And then he's like, this is like the moment where like they figured out that he's obviously close by, and they literally look at each other. And then there's like this hilarious sequence where they run over to the hotel he's staying at and are trying to catch him, and they almost get him, and he's doing this whole villainous turn to get away, and then his little clicker doesn't work to shut this door that he's in. Yeah. And then they're just talking back and forth, and he eventually gets it to work, and it's like, man.
Like as Sean's walking up to the door.
Yeah, like, man, we fell for it.
At this point in the show or the movie, I'm like, how can this guy be the villain? Like, because wouldn't they want someone more like significant or like pivotal? Like I'm like, this guy's like a nobody. Like, why? This makes no sense to me in the plot wise. That's what I thought.
You didn't have like enough. I don't know. You didn't have enough flair.
Well, for the especially for the crime being targeting actual like people from the cast, like the characters of the show, because if it was like this character would work really well if it was just some other person being killed. Like if it was just ending with Juliet's partner being killed, this would be fine. But when they started introducing the crimes of Juliet O'Hara, then we expect someone bigger that has a more important link than an informant that got busted.
Right.
Definitely.
It should be noted too, this character is played by Zachary Levi, who played Chuck in the show Chuck, and I don't think that's his natural accent.
No, you think?
All right, eventually, because things are getting intense, Sean's dad shows up, Henry Spencer, dressed as hipster Henry.
Hipster Spencer.
So there's been gentrification going on in his neighborhood, and he says that basically instead of, being angry about it, he embraced it. And so he's dressed exactly like a typical hipster. Clearly, Henry is going through a midlife crisis and is trying to be young and cool with the young people and dressing ridiculous. He has a ukulele. I definitely was not ready to see this because
I think Sean was either.
We're so used to the way Henry typically looks.
There's one funny part where he's like, Sean, how old do you think I really am? He's like, I don't know, something with a 1 in front of it.
Yes, that was great.
Henry, I just feel like Corbin Burnson just showed up to set though and was like, I'm not changing.
you guys aren't paying me enough to like dress up. So
Yeah, 'cause
You're gonna have
he
to
wears
write
those
this into
scarves and hats like in every interview he does.
But yeah, hipster Henry shows up, and I think Juliet gets mad because he shows up. It's like, it's my dad. What do you expect? Plus, it's Christmas, so
yeah.
And Juliet eventually, like these crimes or this like whole situation's weighing on her, so she calls Lassiter and then Joe, if you want to kind of talk about the context of why this is a phone call and not just his character being in the movie.
So this was kind of a weird situation initially when we were watching the movie because we were unaware of some of the real life events surrounding what's happening to some of the actors. Apparently, a short period of time ago, like right before they started filming or something, Timothy Omenson had a stroke.
Yeah, so he was written a lot more into the script originally, and so they were able to get this scene in to give us some Lassiter, but that's why he does seem so off. He had a stroke, and I mean, he's looking good. I don't know if they did anything though extra with like CG or anything.
We're just glad he could make it for this much.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of weird at first because when we watched it, I had no idea that had happened. So I was like, wow, like they literally like they're phoning it in. Like it seems so awkward. But now that we have this context of he had a stroke, it makes so much more sense. And I'm really glad they were able to do this little cameo, even if it was very short, to kind of let them know that he would be there if he could. And
yeah.
It was very sweet of them.
There's a lot of articles floating around the internet right now about how poignant this scene is because of this. And it's almost like it's not him talking to Juliet, it's like him talking to the audience and him talking to the other cast members. And like, life is life and it's preventing me from being there, but if I could, I would.
Oh, I like that. I like that a lot.
It makes it seem so much better because I was initially so upset not seeing Lassiter in the movie at all.
Yeah.
But when you guys told me about that, and now what Joe just said there, like it makes it so much better.
They also included him in the title credit, in the opening credits too, which I think was probably a really big, tip of the hat to him and showing support to him. Like just because you've gotten you've had a tragic thing happen to you, like this show's not just going to drop you.
You're still family.
Yeah, and like at the end of the day, like Psych is a show that is about family, and that's what they've always felt like that. So it is really nice to see.
And I always felt like they had like such a close relationship where they could all joke around with each other and have a good time. And the fact that they would want to get together and do this kind of reunion movie, as not a lot of shows. The actors, get along so well. And if they're doing, or, like not all the shows that we loved as, like from the past 20 years, like they don't all get reunion shows because, people get mad at each other. They don't like each other. But you could really tell that the chemistry on this entire, the entire cast of this show was so good the whole time.
And I was happy to see that the Juliet and Sean relationship was still there, and nothing got lost since they dated for basically the entire run of the show, and but they broke up after the show, and they were still able to come back for this movie, and it feel like nothing changed.
Yep.
Guys, can you continue without me? I'll be right back. I just need a computer charger.
Cool.
All right. All right, and then I skipped like a lot of things.
Because, I mean, we could talk about it here, but the next part of what really happens with the movie is kind of a spoiler for those that haven't seen it. And we could talk about it afterwards if we'd like, but this is the final scene, which is not so much of a spoiler of the mystery. But
yeah, so this is where Sean and finally get married.
Yeah, because at the end of the movie, after they've solved the crime and put the bad guy away, was his name Providier?
The Providier.
Providor shows up and he found the ring because that was the agreement. If these things happened, then he wouldn't kill them. And he was so impressed and believed in Sean that he found the ring Sean was looking for and brought it back to him. And Sean proposed, and he's like, "Cool, let's do this wedding, or let's do this." And Juliet just says, "Why don't we just go to Vegas and elope?" And then he's just like, "I'm also ordained. We could just get married right here."
And it was a pretty funny moment because this had been a thread throughout the movie where Sean, like this whole ring is like a crutch so that he doesn't have to, move on with his life. But he had like a good reason why he wanted that specific ring, because he talked about how his dad was supposed to use that ring for his mom, and at the last minute, like the grandmother had taken that away, and so he had to spend like all this money and go into debt, and then like he felt.
Uh-oh.
You guys good?
I think they froze. Well, what she was saying is that like the ring was a crutch for Sean, and that the grandmother was supposed to give the ring to Henry, but she didn't like Henry's life choices, I guess it was. So she gave it to Sean ultimately. And that like whole thing made Henry go broke because Henry had to go buy a ring for his fiance and all that kind of stuff. So that was the issue. But also in this scene at the pier, we have Gus finally agreeing to start to date Selena, her name is, I think.
Yeah.
And Ted comes back because of the premonitions that Sean made about his future. And those are all thanks to McNabb. So that was a throwback to McNabb. McNabb was the guy in all three premonitions.
That was a great McNabb reference that he's popping up.
Because I was waiting for him to come back, and then he finally came back in that scene. So that was good.
I like that ending.
Yeah.
Being yeah, well, I like that ending. It also did feel like very psych. Like I'm glad we didn't get the cliffhanger of the wedding is going to happen now. The ending felt very psych, and I actually like that kind of character of the introduced that ordained him. I thought he was a fun character. They wrote, but the villain, let's just backtrack a little bit. The reveal of it, like being with having to do with the Yin Yang tour with Allison Callie. It like took me a minute to realize, and I was like, oh yeah. But I almost felt like that would have been an awesome season 8 episode.
Yeah.
I can see that.
So like that's one of those deep holes I think we'd all have to be like, oh yeah, I have to know Psych. I have to know the 3-part Yin Yang trilogy. And it's a very for a lot of people, like Psych, as great and as much as I love it, and I think you should watch every episode, it's procedural. So even people tuning in, I'm like, yeah, like Psych, they might not know beat by beat.
Right.
Their greatest trilogy.
Yeah, the villain being who it was in this movie, you really have to watch it. So Psych. You can't have this as a standalone because you would really understand it. I mean, just by a little blurb at the bottom, you can. But one thing now that we're talking about who the villain is, one thing that we didn't mention is the dream that Sean had, and he saw Mary Lightly, which is a really good thing. And they sang Allison Road, the song Allison Road, and that was a good callback to Mary and all that stuff. So that was fun.
Yeah, and I know I mentioned it in our clearly. Mary showed up. I think I mentioned it in our recap. In our last recap, is he's like best friends with James Roday.
Yep.
So I know they absolutely love that character.
So, but we have a picture of Mary from when Sean gets up one night, or the night that this is all going on, and sees him. And it's kind of a weird moment to see him there in their kitchen. Mm-hmm. You're like, wait, what's going on?
Yeah, like he died.
Yeah.
And then it becomes pretty obvious what's going on. There's a quick moment in that scene where it's Mary and Sean singing. Once Sean realizes that it's a dream, that Mary or that Sean's dad shows up, acting very Sean's dad, like Sean's dad's also dreaming.
Yeah.
Another scene from the dream.
Yeah, there's like a lot of weird stuff. There was like a horse, and then Juliet is Princess Leia, and Gus is Prince, and I think they make a joke about the fact that like
Gus doesn't believe Prince is actually dead.
he's just somewhere else.
Isn't really dead.
Well, he's left this mortal world for another.
But
So like, I guess the next scene after that, like I guess we're talking about the final scene then, where they all
go back to that horse. Sorry to cut you off, Cal. Yeah. I gotta look at that horse.
Yep, that's a horse. That's the horse. Right.
Yeah, voiced by
the Twin Peaks reference
of Rumble, the other one with Pony Boy.
Okay.
The Outsiders.
Oh.
Yeah, but do you think that's a Twin Peak reference? Because you know how in the dreams you always have the
white horse.
White horse, yeah.
Maybe. Could be like a soft Twin Peaks reference.
Yeah.
I think they talked about swear in one of the articles, someone asked them, they said they might want to do a follow-up Twin Peaks special.
Yes.
Interesting.
Don't know where I read it. Maybe I read it on Reddit. I'm not sure.
You read it on Reddit?
I'm not sure where I read it, but I definitely did see that. But who knows if they'll greenlight that as the sequel. So anyway.
Yeah, so after the dream, we see Iris get kidnapped by Billy. So this is like going to be spoilers for what happens at the end of the actual movie, not the little wedding scene, but right before that, the big heart of the plot twist and all that. Iris gets kidnapped by Billy, and they get the call from Billy, and the whole gang shows up, and they're taken to Alcatraz, and the real puppet master is revealed in the picture that Joan actually just showed was to be Allison.
Yep.
Right. Allison being Yin's apprentice, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah, Yin's apprentice.
Yeah.
And, she lost, and she was about to become Yin's apprentice, but then, Yang turned on Yin, and Juliet defeated Allison, so she had a bone to pick with her.
Yep.
And they all fight. Basically, Juliet's fighting Allison. Karen is looking for her daughter because her daughter's, handcuffed to a chair with dynamite in the room. Sean and Gus are fighting the Black Gentleman Ninja now because he takes out a sword. And they exchange pleasantries before the battle. Then they just watch him do flips and all his karate moves with his sword, and they're just applauding him because it's so funny. Like, how long has it been going on? This guy has stamina. And Henry and Woody are fighting Heather Rockrear. They all end up winning their respective battles, and
but it is definitely harrowing because Henry and Woody are just getting.
Yeah, she's definitely has the upper hand, and
the only one that seems like a close match is Juliet and Allison.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then they all win their battles, but they still got to save Iris. And when they get to Iris, they find the key, but the gate is booby trapped. So when you open it, the dynamite explodes. But Iris is able to get out of her handcuffs or whatever, her rope bindings, and say that the date there's a code to shut off the bomb, and it's the date that Yin was killed and Allison was kidnapped, and Juliet has that what do you call it? In her brain.
That's the memory of it.
Yeah, fond memory, and so she sets it off, and that's how we get to the end of the movie, and they go to the pier, and that's where the marriage happens.
As it should be noted, they did start calling him the Gentleman Ninja. At the very end, as he's being led away by the cops, he's even congratulating them on their work and succeeding and all that jazz. So.
Yeah, he was a good character. He was really funny. I don't know who was playing him. When you guys when that error happened, we were talking about that. Also, Gus and that girl decided to date.
Yep.
And we also talked about Ted came back and he told Sean that all his premonitions came true thanks to McNabb. Thanks to McNabb. So do you have a picture of McNabb on there?
I did not get one. No.
But it was really funny to see that Sean basically called in a favor from McNabb for this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was getting these at the last minute, so I didn't get everything.
Oh no, Ash, you did a great job collecting these photos.
All three premonitions happen to be McNabb, which is so funny. How does a guy not realize that it's the same guy in all three?
Those disguises are really good.
They weren't.
So good.
So do you want to talk about the ending then? Because we had the cliffhanger ending, right? So
Sean and Gus are getting ready for their honeymoon when...
Well, yeah, so it's Juliet and Sean's honeymoon, but they decide to have Gus and his new girlfriend tag along because that's just how they are.
Yeah.
That's how they roll, guys. Connect in swimming pools in the back.
Oh, and we do have that one pine. I see that picture of the cameo pineapple because the whole thing about Psych is you gotta have a pineapple. So at the end of the movie, Sean pulls out that pineapple. And
Yeah, should we cut this up for the road, which is a direct reference to the pilot?
Yep.
And the big cameo at the end, I know they had to advertise it to get people to watch, with it being John Cena, but I really wish they didn't tell us John Cena was going to be in this.
Yeah, I don't think I knew this, but my coworker had told me about it, like just on accident. Like she didn't give me like details, but she's like, I guess he was a big character in the show, but I don't remember because it's been a while since she had seen Psych and she had saw the movie before I was able to. So I knew it was coming, but like I didn't know the context. So
yeah, it was fun. I thought it was a fun little cap. I think that Psych always ends on it's always a happy ending, but there's always that little chaos.
Something's happening.
It was just like the finale where he's proposing to her, but then the guy takes the ring and they got to chase him down. And,
yeah.
And that's one of those things where I'm like, all right, Sean and like I know you're probably not supposed to read deep into it, but like, all right, Sean and Juliet are married now, and she knows who her brother is. She's gonna understand. Like she's gonna understand.
Totally.
You're back.
We are back.
Miss those faces.
So I mean, I think I enjoyed it. Like I was more upset. The thing that upset me the most was not having Timothy Osmond on the movie. But now that finding out what the reason was, and then what Joe said about like it was a really like a discourse to the audience. Also, like that was nice to hear. That was really a really good thing. What was that?
At least that's what it felt like to me after seeing the whole situation, and yeah,
definitely. Overall, like I definitely, like I said, I want to own the Blu-ray of the Psych movie when they release it. I'm sure they'll release it, and I'll definitely like watch it again. Like I think it's a good. I wouldn't even say like it's good like binging of series. I think it's just it might be a good like Sunday afternoon movie watch of like I'm lazy, I'm around, I don't want to just watch an episode, especially if we get it with the commercials cut out. Like that's a nice like hour and a half movie.
I want to say though, I don't know if you guys watched the commercials. Did you guys watch the commercials or not?
We didn't watch it with commercials. We have we put it on Amazon.
What about you? So if you watch it, you guys, if you can, Joe and Ashley, if you guys can go back and watch with the commercials or somehow find a way to do that, in between they had like interviews with like Dule Hill and James Roddy saying like what's the best moment, who's the funniest guy on the set, who's the best dancer.
Yeah, that was fun.
I've seen that on the internet.
Oh, okay, they had like all those little moments. It was cute moments all throughout, like in between on commercials.
Those were fun. It definitely. Psych's very good at gifting their fans. I think they have been.
Well, this probably only exists because of their fans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So like season 8 only exists because of us.
Yeah.
Like every episode in season 8 almost is just a fan service episode.
Yep.
I feel it's a lot like Veronica Mars. It's like parallels Veronica Mars a lot.
I could see it.
Yeah. It definitely was. I'm glad they didn't ask for crowdfunding for it. I would have donated, but it was nice.
I know you can go to the Twitter account right now, and they're being like, "Hey, contact USA so we can get a second movie." So they do have one ready in the works to work on. They're just looking for the attention.
I definitely think the sequel would be nice. And, it almost become a little tradition. I don't want to say like a Simpsons Treehouse of Horror, like every year, but maybe like, every 2 years or so or whatever, a nice little, like, we'll call it a Christmas special, but a nice little special to catch up with the characters and see how they're doing. But I think next time I want to see less references and more just making a better movie and like, being its own thing. still following our storyline and our characters, but you know, we had the return and the homecoming. Now let's do more.
Like if we saw the Yin Yang trilogy as a whole, that would be a good standalone movie, I think.
Oh yeah,
about how the characters of Psych work and all the dynamics between all of them. Compared to this movie, I don't think it would be, because there's so many, like you said, so many callbacks to the show and references that people who don't watch the show won't know what's going on.
it's do you guys want to pineapple it?
What?
Scale of 5 pineapples?
5 pineapples? Okay. You guys can go first. I'm thinking. Go ahead.
Or I mean, any interjections before we pineapple it? I think I've said
I was thinking onto the comment that you had made earlier about wanting more like on a semi-ish regular basis. If you think about a lot of shows from like the 1970s and 80s, they would come back every now and then and like, let's catch up with what's going on in the Brady household, or there would be like these little specials that would come out every now and then. So I don't see why they couldn't do that for Psych. I think the fans would welcome it.
Totally.
Especially if they could, you know, make it less referential and more like, here's what's, you know, it's like for Juliet and Sean now that they're married, and like if Gus is kind of settling down, like how are they balancing like their fun and whimsical lifestyle with responsibility?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think in the next one though, I almost have a feeling we're gonna see Psych San Francisco, the location changed again,
or at least the interior.
Yeah, something.
Well, it did get shot up at the end of the movie.
That's true.
Yeah.
I'd like to see. I know it's not very Psych because I know they did all the Christmas specials. That's when it released. I'd almost like to see it as a Halloween special.
I can see that.
That would be fun.
Because in my sick/drunken stupor last week, I made it that I really like their supernatural episodes, and that could be a lot of fun to return.
Even
something weird, like they go to like Transylvania or something, or the Transylvania of the West Coast, which is like Seattle.
And they make a lot of Twilight jokes. That'd be funny. But I have a question for you. If it stays in San Francisco, will we see an Adrian Monk crossover?
I was hoping that would happen.
Or at least a reference.
They referenced it in the finale, but I wanted to see Monk show up for like just like a quick second.
I think no, I hate to be that guy. I think the finale reference was all they gave us, and I think they keep continuing on this. Like Monk's its own thing, even though it's in San Francisco and clearly in the same world. But I'm sure Tony Shalhoub, and I don't know who the creator of Monk is, but they probably were like hounded by the Psych creators for the longest time about it, and they were probably like, no. So I think the reference we got at the finale, I hate to be the Debbie Downer.
No,
we're getting.
I was at the most hoping for a reference in this again, where it's like
we don't need you, Sean. We have someone.
Yeah, or like, well, Chief, we either work with the psychic or the OCD guy, and
I would like to see Monk back again too, just for one off or something, you know, like just to see what's going on in them. But this is supposed to be 3 years later, right? So who knows what's going on in Monk's world?
Yeah,
he's cleaning his nursing home.
Oh my god!
So should we do our review? Like what out of 5 pineapples?
Yeah, why not?
Yo, you want to start, Cherrick? You want to start first?
Sure. So after careful review and I want to give it 3 pineapples and an earwolf and an earwolf jacket. I mean, airwolf jacket.
Nice.
So you know, like a 3.5. I had a lot of fun with it. I definitely recommend it. I think the Psych fans would love it. It's just what's really capping it from being like a 4 for me is I have a hard time recommending it to someone that's never seen Psych.
I'm on the same page as Joe here. Probably 3.5 stars. Oh, sorry, 3 pineapples and half a Lionel figure, or Gus's glowworm, whatever you want to call it, and get to 3.5 pineapples because same reasons. I loved it. I know I'm always gonna love the show, the characters, the relationship dynamics, but like as a standalone movie, I don't as just to show a fan who didn't know anything about Psych, I couldn't do that. The show has so much more to offer than that, in that sense.
I'm also there. I'm at 3 pineapples and the back half of an Optimus Prime figure. For pretty much the same reasons, and it's to make it even further, it just feels like a single Psych episode. There's nothing movie about it. It's just an extended Psych episode.
Before Ashley, you go. I have one thing that just popped in my head. If you guys want to watch a Psych movie, I more recommend the musical.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If you're really looking for that movie.
Feeling.
The theatrical vibe.
And it's not a bunch
So
of
pineapple. Bring us home, Ashley. Pineapple is bad boy for us.
I feel bad that I don't have a half rating. I enjoyed it a lot. It's definitely not something that if you've never seen Psych, you would understand. And so that's where, and it was a little too referencey at times. But I thought it was like a solid 4 pineapples. I don't have any quarters or halves of an action figure to throw in there. 4 pineapples.
The Darth Vader figure that was got in the beginning of season 6 or whatever it was.
So.
Luke, I remember.
But all in all, we all enjoyed it. It wasn't like it wasn't what we expected to see out of a movie form. It was more of an episode, but we did enjoy it. And us being fans, I think we had fun with it. But would we recommend it? No, probably. I mean, not as a standalone. We recommend the series, watching the series, getting to learn the characters and all that kind of stuff. Then watch the movie ultimately at the end. But it was fun.
Yeah, and I was actually showed one of my coworkers like a super cut of all of like the hilarious Sean moments, and he was so excited that he wanted to start watching the show because my friend and I were talking about the movie, and he's like, "Well, do you think I would understand it?" And we're like, "Probably not. Like if you've never seen the show, just kind of even beforehand, usually these kinds of movies are not like audience like engaging if you've never seen it before." So he's gonna catch up on the show hopefully over the break, and we'll see. So it's always good to introduce this series to new people because like I don't know how like I really wish it was on Netflix or Hulu where it was more accessible for a new audience to find it. It's been long enough, and I'm surprised with the movie coming out that they haven't had like all the episodes available.
Yeah, it seems like they, who knows who has their streaming rights and all that stuff. But even if USA uploaded onto their website before the movie, it was like, hey, before the movie comes out, every episode's online for this month or whatever. They're really dropping the ball because it's hard to recommend the show and being like, without being a fan of it and be like, oh, well, you got to go purchase it.
I wonder if they're doing that as a tactic to try and, I won't say avoid having to make a second film or more films, but as we're trying to legitimately test and see if this is something people want back or if this is just like, or we're going to be netting more new fans or whatever. So I'm just kind of curious.
Maybe. I mean, the show went off of Netflix like, it was off of Netflix prior to us meeting in Philly. So that was almost, that was, 5 months ago?
Yeah.
So I think it's a contract thing.
Possible.
The different discussion, you could join us at Joe Talks About Netflix. The Netflix and their contracts are getting interesting. We just had It's Always Sunny get pulled and everything Fox. So
that's because everyone's starting their own streaming services, and Netflix is going to be left alone in the wind with its own. All it's going to have left is its original programming, which is fine.
Yeah,
I think almost in that case, it's like the case of like too many cooks or whatever. Where if you have too many options, then. I like having like consolidated services where you can get like a variety of shows. If everybody has their own service, then
it's what you asked for, though.
I know
people wanted a la carte programming.
Well, you know what? The Netflix is worked so great for so long because it was majority of stuff was there.
Yeah, it was like the only thing in the market.
And now you're having like Fox. Like I'm like 90% positive that they're. By the way, I guess the Psychcast is over.
Oh yeah, well yeah. Let's wrap that up because I gotta go.
I'm sorry, but basically,
I
think Fox is making their own streaming service. Also.
I know Randall wants to watch the Psych episodes. He saw season 1 and 2 and he really loved it. And he's like, "Oh, where can I watch the rest of them?" I had nothing to tell him because I'm like, "You have to probably buy them on Amazon individually because otherwise."
Well, you can buy the seasons and they're usually a little cheaper that way, but they're still expensive.
All right, so I guess we can start with our plugs. Joe Chinchak, would you like to start first?
Yeah, you just follow me on Twitter. Currently talking about how much I love the Disaster Artist. I'm sure it's Star Wars upcoming and crying about the Jets. Just life in general. Just tweet at me. I'll talk to you or yell at you. I don't know. Have me on your show. I've had a blast doing this, guys. I can't wait to our next venture.
Yeah, I'm Pineapple Cal. You can find me on various shows, and you can find me on Twitter at VeranjaDejaVu. This Wednesday we have Encrypted coming up with the Hellhounds. And then we have an Aftermath coming not tomorrow, but next Monday, talking about Clash of Champions, which will feature Charlotte Flair, who is on Psych today, the Psych movie. And last but not least, we have the co-creators of this channel, Geek to My Nerd, Ashley and Joe Davis.
And you can find us like on Twitter at the various hashtags or the various @ underneath our faces here. You can find us at this channel where you're watching this right now, where we stream video games frequently. We'll be streaming quite a bit during the holiday probably. Mm-hmm. But more importantly, starting Tuesday.
Yeah, starting Tuesday, we're going to do a Star Wars retrospective mini-series. On Tuesday, we're going to do 2 streams. One of them will be over the original trilogy and kind of like our thoughts and talking about the cultural impact. And then right after that, we're going to do one about the prequels and like what we think about them now that it's been some time since we've seen them originally. On Wednesday after Encrypted, we're going to review and talk about The Force Awakens. Thursday, we're taking a break so that we can actually go see The Last Jedi. And then Friday, we're going to do a review of that. And then on Saturday, we're going to do a review of Rogue One and other Star Wars spinoffs. So we're going to be talking about the Christmas special, video games, RPGs. And so it's kind of everything Star Wars this week on our channel.
Yep.
And most of those will be airing at 8 Eastern, except for Wednesday's show, which will be after Encrypted.
All right.
Can't wait. Are you guys for the Attack of the Clones episode? Are you guys just gonna show someone just like pooping the entire time?
We're gonna talk about the animated series stuff, whether it's
that's good
or the CGI.
I'm just joking, guys. This has been so much fun.
I know. I hope we can do this again. I hope you guys enjoy this. Everyone who's watching this, because I hope you guys love Psych as much as we do, and we hope we can do this again because we're hoping the way it ended, there's going to be another Psych movie. And please, I hope Joe puts in the description that where to tweet at to get the fan thing going, the fan buzz going for the second Psych movie, because I'm going to sure hit that up, and hopefully we'll see us again on another Get Psyched. We talk about Psych the movie 2, or whatever they end up calling it. But until then, we have Joe Chinchak, the co-creators of Geek to My Nerd, Ashley and Joe Davis, and myself, Pineapple Cal, signing off. Until next time, guys. Suck it. Come on, son.